Okay. Torah Or. Let's start Vayigash. Okay, it's a short Seder in Torah Or. Okay, page 86. The pasuk says, Vayigash of Yehuda. Yehuda came close to Yates and said, "Bi Adeini, please my master." Okay, so the Alter Rebbe is going off early at the beginning of the Maamarim. It says in the pasuk that the walls of our house are cedar trees, which refers to the Beis Hamikdash, okay, whatever, or the Mishkan. I'm sorry, the Mishkan. The difference between the Mishkan and the Beis Hamikdash, HaMishkan or Yemei Adozim. The Mishkan was made out of cedar trees, acacia wood, whichever way you define it. So the Mishkan was made out of wood. And the covering was made out of animal skin. Okay, so the Mishkan was made out of wood. The covering was made out of animal skins. And it was dafka made not from wood, because there's certain parts that you're not allowed to have any protruding wood in the Beis Hamikdash. Think he says, there are only certain cedar beams, betikra sa'ulam, in the ceiling of the ulam. Bottom line is like this: the Mishkan was made out of wood and skins, and the Beis Hamikdash was made out of dirt and stone. So why in the Mishkan was the primary building made out of wood, and the dirt was only on the floor of the Mishkan. Yet, in the Beis Hamikdash was the opposite. That the stones and the dirt were the primary part of the building. Even the roof, those parts that had a roof, were also made from stone and dirt. The answer is a very simple question. Why was the Mishkan made out of wood, and why was the Beis Hamikdash made out of stone? Should have been uniform. Either.
The Mishkan was the one that was moving around the desert,
right? Right.
So, wouldn't the simple answer be they had to move it?
Yeah, but you can move stone things too.
Yeah. Well, the stone is coming from higher source.
1 second.
The earth is higher.
The Indian is as follows. It's known, in every world, there's 4 levels. Inanimate, plant, animal, and human. Inanimate is lower than plant. And plant is lower than animal. And the highest is humans. Well, not in Beverly Hills, but officially. So now you have inanimate in ascending order, yeah? Inanimate, plant, animal, and human. So now the question is, it doesn't make sense. Why is it that what produces vegetation is the inanimate earth? Why is it, conceptually, that the earth, which is inanimate, produces plant? Plant is higher than earth. So if anything, the plant should produce earth, not earth producing plant. The Indian is as follows. Each one has an advantage and disadvantage. Meaning, even though inanimate is lower than plant, you say it has an advantage. Okay, so like was just mentioned from the in-house scholar over here, that the earth, because it's lower, originates in a higher place. So therefore, even though down here inanimate is lower than plant, which is lower than animal, which is lower than human, but up there it's in reverse. Okay? And he says, Dine, Yadua Machlekes Hatanoim. There's an argument in the Gemara between Bisham Beis Hillel, Chadam Shamayim Kadmol Haaretz. One opinion says heavens are created first, like it said Bereshis Bara Esa Shamayim Vesa Haaretz. But Chadam, and the other opinion says Eretz Kadmol. Earth was created first because at the end of creation it says B'yem Aseh Hashem Elokim Eretz V'Shamayim. So over there is a discussion in the Gemara. One opinion says heaven was created first because it says at the beginning of Chumash, Hashem created heaven and earth, meaning heaven was first. At the end of creation it says, this is the told us the Shema B'yem Aseh Hashem Elokim, and the day God made Eretz V'Shamayim, first earth then heaven. So therefore you have two opinions, what was created first. Now obviously you cannot have a machlekes, you can't have an argument and a fact. Which one was created? You could say kosher and treif, you can have an argument, is it kosher or treif? But one of the two had to happen first. So how can both opinions be right? And he says, and he says, what does that mean? He says like this, in thought, meaning purpose, earth is first. But in actual reality, Shamayim Tchili created the heaven and earth. Meaning, everybody agrees as follows. Heaven was actually created first. The purpose of creation is not spiritual, the purpose of creation is physical. So therefore the argument is, are we looking at the reality or the potential? Same thing like Bechaneka. Same Beisham and Beis Hillel, by the way. In other words, one opinion says earth was created first, meaning not that it was physically created first. The purpose of creation was earth. The other one says no, factually heaven was created first. And he says, the Indian is like this. He says, like we say in the end of action was in thought first. Pirish, the fish will save mice. Because the earth is the last of creations, comes from a higher level of thought, which is the ultimate purpose. Meaning, in thought, earth was created first. Like it says, in machshava, seif ma'aseh, the end of action, b'machshava tchila. That means, earth, which is the ultimate purpose of creation, comes from thought. Heaven came from speech. Avo shamayim shem tchila samaisa. Hey machreinim shebamachshav is the later thought. In the thinking, kizah klau shaseif ma'isa eila tchila b'machshava. That the end is wedged in the beginning, so to speak. The seif ma'isa, the end of action, is in thought first. Therefore, down here, in reality, in the real world, plant is higher than inanimate. Which is according to the way of the worlds. By the way, the four levels of inanimate, plant, animal, and human also correspond with the four worlds. This world action is daimim. The world of Yetzirah is plant. The world of Bria, where all the malachim are, is chayes, the level of animals. And Atzilus is Adam, that's the level of Medaber. So therefore, in the order of worlds, Atzilus is higher, then Bria, then Yetzirah, then Asiya. So therefore, human, animal, plant, inanimate, that's the order. But in the ultimate, up there, then everything is reversed, because the higher the thing, the lower it falls. So he says, in the thought of initial thinking, therefore only the earth can bring out vegetation because the earth is higher than vegetation. Like the Alter Rebbe explains, why does a human sustain themselves from animals and from plant and from inanimate? Because in the source they're higher. What?
They're saying that Olam Asiyah came first.
In purpose. In purpose. Yeah. Therefore, everybody sustains themselves from the earth. Plant, animals sustain themselves from the earth. Humans sustain themselves from the earth. You need water. That's all. Okay. So he says, Vinay, second column. Mishkan lo hayanimsa dayin tachlis shleimis shayiragdiras arish HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Says the Mishkan was only the temporary home of Hashem. It wasn't permanent. Like it says in the pasuk, you haven't come to the permanent home of Hashem. Like it says, Hashem says, I'm going to walk in the oil and the Mishkan. Because it's lower, therefore, the Mishkan was built on the level of the worlds the way it is down here. Meaning, top were animal skins, the walls were plant, and the ground was inanimate. So the lowest was inanimate, then plant, then animal. Because that's the way the normal world is. It's not the revelation of the source the way it is all the way up there. In the practical level, plant is higher than, animals higher than plant, which is higher than dirt.
And this was told to Moshe to do it this way.
That's why Moshe Rabbeinu was told to do it that way. Because the Mishkan wasn't the revelation of the essence. It was only temporary. That's why when the Mishkan left the place it was on, there was no holiness left to the place. Now there's no Beis HaMikdash, but the place is holy.
And Beit HaMikdash, there were no animal used, right? In Beit HaMikdash, they were all...
In the construction, just inanimate.
All is stone, no iron.
No. Well, there was metal, there were certain metal things, but not in the structure. The structure of the Beis HaMikdash was pure stone and earth.
And the curtain, how is the curtain was made? From the animal, right?
No.
Curtain was...
From material.
That's animal.
Well,
You use some Persians who had some good
American
rugs.
slant base, yeah.
Persian rugs. Jerusalem rugs. No, that inside the Mishkan you had other things. You had the karbanis were brought. It was all animal and plant, and even the karbanis had all parts of it: inanimate, plant, animal, and human. They had the pouring of the water. Then they had the plants. They had to bring the flower offerings.
But the highest
Then
one was an animal.
yeah, in the Mishkan. And then you had the person bringing it. But that was in the Beis HaMikdash too. But he's saying the difference between the Mishkan and the Beis HaMikdash is the Mishkan was in the reality and the Beis HaMikdash was in the source. Therefore the source, earth and stone, is higher. So therefore the Beis HaMikdash is made out of stone and
There
earth.
are other cultures and societies that took it to a higher level by sacrificing human beings.
Whoa.
It wouldn't be a bad idea today, by the way. I'll give you a list. But it says the Gemara says that when a person brought a korban, especially a sin offering, it was supposed to appear to them as if they were really sacrificing themselves. As a guy sinned, he should have been killed. Hashem in His infinite kindness says, you know, to bring an animal, I will consider it as if you brought yourself. So there is that concept, but not in reality, because halachically, the life of a person is too precious. And therefore it says, in the Yerushalmi, when it says, they asked this one, what does a person do that gets sinned? And they asked Torah, and they asked the Kodesh Baruch Hu, and and the ultimate is that let him do tshuva and get forgiven.
So Yom Kippur, they look at the chicken that is, you have to really look at it.
Yeah.
But you mean Erev Yom Kippur?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell about the chicken.
Yeah.
Yeah. You see some pictures, the leather is